Hello, everyone. I'm Irina Baker, a spiritual self-awareness mentor. And here I am with a wonderful person, gorgeous lady, and my dear friend for many, many years. Her name is Steph Frazier, and she's going to tell us her story, how she uses and applies divine guidance science in her life. Steph, you many years ago, we won't count how many, when we first met, you were a muggle. And by muggle, I don't mean anything bad or offensive. All I mean is a muggle means the one who doesn't know about spiritual reality or is not interested in it, right? So many people have their physical reality around them, but they're not really interested in spiritual things. So you were that muggle a long time ago. And what happened when first time I introduced science in your life? And actually, I do remember that I was just sharing my own science. I didn't even try to sway you in any shape or form, right? I didn't make you believe in science or anything like that. But so how did it start for you with the divine guidance science?
First, thank you for having me. And yes, as far as the signs go, I was watching you day in and day out, and you weren't forcing it on me. You weren't trying to get me to believe what you believe. You just wanted to show me. And I saw you, even something so simple as a bird coming by, it meant something to you. It spoke to you. You would come and you had to show me. Or an alarm would go off and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a sign. Or we would see certain numbers and you're like, look at these numbers. These numbers mean something. This is a sign. And I was like, I want these signs. And finally, I started asking for signs. But I asked for them to come to me easily because I wasn't getting them. They were in front of me, and there was probably a million of them. And my example of this, I will share in just a moment. I wanted them so bad. I wanted to know. I wanted to know that I was on the right path. So I just asked. I don't know who I was asking at the time because I was not quite understanding what the knowledge that you had, but I wanted it. I wanted a touch of that. So I just asked the universe, my angels, and I just said, please help give me signs and make them clear so that I know. My favorite my favorite sign that you ever gave me was whenever you came running up to my office. It was all windows and there was a trailer right in front of my desk out on the street, and you were like, oh my gosh, look at that, you have to see that. I literally didn't see it. I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, you don't see that? It's huge. And it was a tree trunk about as big as a car. And you were like, that's the root of the problems. That is the root of the issue that I'm dealing with right now. And I was, at the time, it didn't resonate with me. However, about 11 years later, it finally came in, and I was writing about it for another video that we did, and it all kind of came to me. Like, I got that message 11 years ago, but it didn't make sense until that day that I was thinking about it. And the issue that I was dealing with at the time, my roots were literally going away on a trailer right in front of my eyes.
Uprooted. Because the roots are the spiritual problem has roots and they're inside of us. So when we're ready to release, or we're already in the process of releasing, we could see that sign with the trunk that is dead already. The tree is not alive anymore. So the issue is no longer needed or wanted inside of us, right? And the uprooted roots. So that means the whole thing is going away, not just the top of it, right? But the
Yes,
whole thing, including the roots. How cool is that?
yes.
And, just a second, there is another teaching point because I wanted to pinpoint that. And a teaching point here is divine setup was such that I introduced that sign long time ago, right? 11 years ago to you, when it didn't resonate to you at that time. You didn't know anything about it. And by the way, that trailer with that tree was removed. The trailer was gone after we got the sign. So I don't remember. I don't know if you remember that, but usually that's a teaching point for everybody. when the sign is received, when the message is conveyed and you got it, the sign disappears. So the trailer was there until I had to see it, and obviously I had to show it to you. So then the trailer and with the tree fulfilled its purpose, and it was gone and then the street was clean, so to speak, clear without the trailer. And later on, 11 years later, who would think that you would remember this, right? But you did.
Yeah. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful whenever you open your heart and your mind and you're willing and ready to accept. And that's what you have to do. You have to be intentional about what you really want. And if you really want signs or you think they're not coming to you easily, you have to ask for it to be easy.
It's nice for you to talk like this right now, right? But we also know that you have resisted for some time. So tell us a little bit about that. This is so perfect because you finally figured out what you needed to do to open up to the science. And that's what you were sharing with everybody. But you did resist. So when was the point or what kind of point it was when you suddenly started seeing signs? Because I know you get floods now. You get flooded with signs, no problem anymore. But it was a problem before. So where was that point of transition?
I think it was very early on, but I wanted them so bad, but I was trying way too hard because I wanted them, but I didn't really even know what to look for. And I was trying way, way too hard. So I would see a pin and I was like, what is this pin? This pin has to mean something. What is this? Or a sticky note. And I was like, oh no, it's a sticky note. What does this mean? But whenever you just relax and really listen to your inner voice, and that's what I had to do, was just relax and stop forcing it, because pretty much anything that you force is going to turn yucky. So if you just let it flow naturally, it will come to you as long as you have an open heart and an open mind.
Speaking from experience, right? These are not
Yeah.
just words. This is a real life experience. Okay, and the last question, the whole importance of divine guidance science in your life. Would you right now, because you know and you've used divine guidance and you practice it and implement it for so many years by now, right? Would you, if I would say, okay, stop having it and just no divine guidance anymore, what would you say?
You can't take it away. It's like learning to ride a bike. You couldn't tell me to stop knowing how,
Right.
because once you know, and once you know what to look for, you can't stop it. Like you're there. And sure, we all go through times where we may not be on this level, we may be here, but it's okay, because this is just as beautiful as up here. So even if you go through a hard time, remember to stay true to yourself, and you'll get out of it. It's okay. And love every single moment and every single breath that you get, and pay attention to your signs, because usually whenever you do slip on the downhill slope, that's whenever you get the biggest signs. But sometimes your mind is so closed. So you have to remember to ask for your mind to be open and to open your heart.
Right. One of my friends, and I know we need to stop, but I want one more question. One of my friends said, who is a complete muggle, and she knows it, and she said, oh, it must be hard to constantly look for signs. Your life must be so hard to constantly look for signs. And I laugh because I look at it the opposite way, right? Because it's
Yes.
life as a muggle, it's not hard life as for us, because science encourage, uplift, help, guide. I mean, all the make decisions, help make decisions and so forth. And so what would you say? Which part do you think hard life with science or without science?
Oh my gosh, absolutely without. And my favorite thing out of all this that I've ever learned is, I know that I was this way I'm sure I was this way for you. I was this way for other people in my life. But whenever someone isn't paying attention to their signs and they're just walking through life, going through the motions, I feel like those people are usually the ones who drain me the most. Like, they physically drain my energy, they drain mentally, physically, emotionally, I get drained by hanging out with them because they're not being true to themselves. They're not being intentional of what they really want in life. So instead of saying it's got to be hard for you, they could say, I want to learn how to do this. Like, how can I do this so my life can be easier? And I can understand the resistance because I've been on that side. And I did think, like, this is, there's no way that everything can be a sign. Absolutely. Whenever you're getting signs, I understand how people on the outside looking in, whenever I'm like, this is a sign, a bunch of my shoes broke. I mean, I had 7 pairs of shoes break one day or one week. And I know the people around me probably thought I was some kind of crazy person or I just bought really cheap shoes. But it is important to pay attention. And yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be another conversation. This because it's a advanced yoga move, because we will go into the very deep spiritual truths about why we need to pay attention to the whole reality around us. So thank you so much. But it was great to hear your real life experience with science, and I know
Thank,
you've been using them and implementing them, as I said. So it's not theory for you; it's
right.
the real deal.
Thank you for having me and thank you for letting me share. I hope I answered your questions.
Of course you did. Thank you, everyone.